Welcome to this Dutch Fund for Climate and Development podcast, where we speak with the DFCD Africa Project Manager, Tigere Muzenda, as he reflects on the project's work to date. We will hear about what the DFCD is, some successful projects over the last 2 years, their challenges and lessons learned, and of course, what opportunities lie ahead. Hello, Tigere, and how are you keeping?
Good afternoon, Rosemary. I'm doing fine. The year started well. I hope you're okay too. Thanks.
Yes, welcome to the session. Perhaps you can start by giving us a brief background about how the DFCD started and the way it operates.
Right. So the Dutch Fund for Climate and Development, DFCD, is a brainchild of the Dutch government. It's a 160 million euro fund that was handed over to the consortium to manage and invest in climate change adaptation. The consortium is made up of 4 partners, that is FMO, the Dutch Development Finance Institution, Worldwide Fund for Nature, WWF, Climate Fund Managers, CFM, and SNV, the Netherlands Development Organization.
What exactly is an origination facility?
An origination facility in our parlance is the beginning of a project. After a concept is made up, if a concept is formed, it may need to be added to with various enhancements. And also in the early stages, it's difficult for companies to get financing to develop their investments or their concepts. So the DFCD comes in at the origination stage to help fund those early stage activities that are important for a project to set up. And these are, as an example, pre-feasibility studies, environmental impact assessments, multi-stakeholder engagements, permitting and licensing. So the DFCD comes in at the origination level to help provide grants and technical assistance so that these early stage costs can be met and the activities implemented. That's what we call the origination facility.
DFCD first launched in Africa in the year 2020, the same year the world experienced the first wave of COVID-19. How did this affect the project?
The coming on of COVID-19 had a serious setback on both individuals and companies, as well as institutions like the DFCD. For instance, when COVID started hitting many countries, there were travel restrictions, both at the local level and internationally, that people could not travel where they used to. That meant also lost opportunities for meetings and networking. And in addition, more seriously, was the impact on business, where those that needed raw materials to be ferried from one place to another, that was no longer possible or very difficult. Those that needed to take their produce to the market or even for export, for quite some time that was difficult. So businesses suffered. And as a result, a number of businesses either closed down completely or they shed off staff, which in turn had an impact on, for instance, household incomes went down, business profitability declined, and as a result, even investments then were either put on hold or slowed down because companies could not afford that. That was the large impact on business and households.
Oh, wow. 2 years later and many prospects later, the project is steadily building a list of clients in Africa. Could you list some of them while highlighting the different stages they are in?
Yeah. So despite there being COVID and all the restrictions that were there, we were lucky in that we could do quite some substantial business over the last 2 years. But I asked him to say that it could have been better were it not for COVID-19. Some of the successes we had were in some more active countries like Kenya, where we recorded successes with solar water solutions. A company that is going to be investing in the WASH area, water, sanitation and health. This one has been implementing its origination activities and is almost close to completing those and then moving on to graduation. We have Amiran, a one-stop shop for agricultural inputs, also in Kenya, and Soko Fresh, a cold chain support entity also in Kenya. Both of them are at the stage where they've signed the grant funding agreement and are ready to go into origination activity implementation. Outside Kenya, we had an investment approved in South Sudan called Equatorial Teak Company. It has also signed the funding agreement and is ready to go into origination activity implementation. In Mali, we have Safisana Mali, a project in water, sanitation and health, which is also already implementing origination activities. Then lastly, we have Musanya Hani in Zambia, which was recently approved and is at the stage where we are discussing finalization of the grant funding agreements. So those are some of the successes we scored during this period.
You have made mention of the word graduation. What does this mean for the businesses and for the project?
Mm-hmm. In short, graduation relates to the period or the time when a project that was implementing origination activities has completed that implementation and is therefore ready to move on to the next level, which is accessing financing for implementation of the project. This is a time when they've completed and met all the milestones that were set during origination, and we then help them, introduce them to the financiers, either under the land use facility with FMO or under the water facility with CFM, Climate Fund Managers.
Last year, the project also organized the Scalable Solutions Challenge as part of its activities. Could you please briefly share some detail about that and how it went?
The Scalable Climate Solutions Challenge was initiated by the FMO with the intention of raising more awareness of the DFCD in the various areas where we operate, but also help build a pipeline for investable projects. So the Scalable Climate Solutions Challenge Fund was run in Bangladesh, in Kenya and Uganda. And we got quite considerable applications from those that were interested in accessing the funding. These were 35 applicants in Uganda, 51 in Kenya, and 27 in Bangladesh. And at the end of the day, we were supposed to select one applicant from each country who would then have been rated the winner. And in Bangladesh, we had Isfahani. In Kenya, we had Sokofresh. In Uganda, we had Mantulis. These were the final contestants out of the Challenge Fund.
Sokofresh was also featured at COP26 last year. This is the United Nations Climate Change Conference, which you attended in person. What was the reception of DFCD at COP26?
Yes, as a final contestant, Sokofresh was featured at COP26, wherein they made their pitch for the grant funding that was available, about 100,000 euro if they had won, if they were to win that pitch. They also were competing with the other two contestants, Isfahani and Mantulis. Sokofresh's concept was considered by those that attended online and physically as one of the very innovative projects they'd seen in Africa, because it helps reduce post-harvest losses in the agricultural sector, especially when it comes to post-harvest losses of vegetables and fruits and other perishables that need that cold chain. And Sokofresh provides that from the farm right to the export market if it needs to be. And that was quite well received by the attendants.
Thank you, Tigere. What are some of the opportunities you see for the DFCD in 2022?
We saw quite interesting developments despite there being lockdowns. It's as if the lockdowns actually spared some innovative thinking. For instance, one of the areas that developed quickly and we see continued opportunity is in logistics and value chain support. So earlier on, people were used to dial delivery being mostly for food and online shopping for luxuries, but it became a fully fledged activity throughout various industries and value chains that for people who were buying, say, inputs for agricultural use, They could go online, look for suppliers, discuss and communicate with them, and order deliveries to their doorstep of agricultural inputs. The same applied to produce from the market. Those that wanted to sell would find buyers, or if they knew where the market was, they would communicate with the buyers and arrange that they could deliver or bring their vehicles. And in that respect, we saw there was a lot of aggregation, both at input and at output level, that no individual farmers needed to drive long distances. They could then communicate with others online, find a destination or a focal point to which they could deliver their agricultural output, and it would be picked from there. The same applies to inputs. They will be delivered to a particular place and they'll all be picked from there. Apart from logistics, there was also a heightened development of financial technology and agricultural technology, fintech and agtech, as well as agricultural credit finance. These areas we see as they are going to continue to be development areas post-COVID even.
Thank you, Tigere, and thank you, dear listener, for listening. Please visit www.thedfcd.com for more information, and follow SNV on Twitter and LinkedIn for regular updates on DFCD. Thank you.